I didn't have any money. So I was $75,000 in debt, predominantly student loan debt. And so I was talking to Joel about this, and Joel said, hey, you don't need money, right? Be creative. You can do this. I tell people I don't have any of my own money tied up in any of these properties. I had a credit card that allowed you to take a cash advance off of it. And at the time, it was only 7% interest, right? But I was able to get a cash advance off, and I was able to use that money as my down payment money. And so for my deal, they would loan up to 85%. So I had to put down 15%. I bought the worst house on the block, and I took a little bit more money off the credit card and made it the best house on the block. I was able to raise rents, and then I was able to refinance the property several months later and pull that working capital right back out because there was so much equity that I initially got because of sweat equity. And then I was able to pay the credit card off and then roll that money to the very next property, roll it into something else that can make you some money. And I'm in a much different position now where, it's great. But when I first initially started, that's how I was able to really grow the way I was doing it.
Yeah, that's an amazing strategy to use a credit card to get into the game and not to have any of your own cash, but using the resource of being able to have a credit card on hand to make the down payment, pull your cash back out, and just repeat that process time and time again.
Absolutely. When I was getting into real estate, I didn't know anything about the BRRRR method, right? But it's essentially the BRRRR method. My strategy was buy the worst house on the block because that creates the most value. You have the biggest upside in buying the worst house on the block, fixing it up, refinancing, pulling the money back out, raising the rent, and rolling that money to the next property. And I have done that hundreds of times. And now I don't have to do that anymore, right?